Welcome back to the Holosky podcast. We're your host. I'm Steven.
And Kyle.
And it's Monday, Holocult. You know what that means. We're back, here to hang out with you with some weirdness and kickstart your week off right. We're glad you chose us to kind of hang out with you and, get you through the day. It's a good time. I looked into another weird American triangle to kind of piggyback off the Bridgewater. We're going to jump into that after we get through all the business. If you're new here, me and Kyle like to talk. And if you don't like listening to us talk, you probably shouldn't be listening to podcasts. But
valid point.
Just skip forward to about the 5-minute mark and we'll get into the meat of the show. Or you can just hang out and just listen to us jabber.
Yeah.
Because it's a good time. But we got to get through the business, so check us out at all social medias, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Reddit. Search up the Holosky podcast. You'll find us there. Come and hang out. Be part of the community. Join the cult. It's a good time. Friendly people. Interesting conversation. It's just awesome all around. If you have a paranormal experience you'd like for us to share on a future Thursday show titled Holosky Listener Experiences, oddly enough, Kyle's got some info for you.
I do, and it's extremely easy. You just write your story out, try to include as much detail as you can, shoot that over to the email, which is going to be holoskypodcast@gmail.com. Those emails then get flagged so we don't lose them, and then they get put into our patent pending filing system, and then they get chosen at random, which is part of the patent pending, and then we have an episode, and it's good time. Very, very good.
You've heard of the X-Files. This is the Holo Files.
Yeah.
It's as easy as that.
The H-Files.
H-Files. If you'd like to support the show, there's plenty of ways you can do it. Yeah, H-Files. I mean, it just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it's good. It's solid.
You can pop over to the Patreon for $7 a month. You get all kinds of extra goodies over there. There's unreleased extra shows over there. I think we're up to 50 now. You get early access to our regular shows, ad-free shows. You can listen to the AI musical amalgamation. Is amalgamation a word? Amalgamation. That is Casket Breath.
Megatron.
You also get, sometimes in our store, we'll pop up some coupons over there that are Patreon exclusive. It's just a good time. You can also go to holoskypodcast.com. Check the merch store out. We got good stuff over there. T-shirts, stickers, hats, all kinds of goodies. Best thing you could do is share the show word of mouth. Share it. Just keep Holosky in the running for the best podcast ever created.
Facts.
It's easy as that. I got a bunch of QR stickers on the way. They haven't been shipped yet. Hopefully they've been printed. I haven't heard back from the company, so I don't know. If you'd like to get a couple of them to stick around your town and just vandalize shit, shoot us your shipping address, and once they get here, I'll send them to you. You can also go to wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating and review, and I will shout it out whenever I find it. This week's 5-star rating and review comes to us from our friend IR23 Cove. Well, IR says, gracias for not being boring. Solid. We're trying our best. 5 stars. Your episodes are always captivating and not, capitalized not, boring. Thank you. Well, thank you for taking the time to leave us this 5-star and appreciating me and Kyle's intrigue and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I like to be not boring.
We try.
Also, Holocult, do us a favor. Run over there and hammer the fuck out of those 5 stars. That way it puts us into more algorithms and we get seen more.
Yeah.
Let's make some moves, Holocult. We can do this.
We can take over the world.
That's what I'm saying.
We're determined enough and we're dumb enough to not quit.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
That's proven.
It's proven.
Fucking battle tested, baby.
Yeah.
We're still here on this planet after 38, 40 years, so
we are nothing if not stubborn.
That is facts.
But that being said, we're going to jump right into the not physically jump into the Bennington Triangle, but we are figuratively go to the Bennington Triangle, which isn't that far from the Bridgewater Triangle, oddly enough. So the Bennington Triangle is in Vermont, and there's not exactly a clear cut like pinpoint of towns and shit that make up this triangle, kind of the way the Bridgewater did, but it's mostly just centered around this specific mountain named Glastonbury Mountain. There are some towns that are incorporated around it. The town of Bennington, town of Woodford, Shaftesbury, Somerset. There were some older towns, Glastonbury and Somerset, that are now pretty much non-existent. They just became ghost towns. I think they have under like 10 people in them each. But anyway, the term Bennington Triangle is a phrase that was coined by American author Joseph A. Citro. So he grew up in this area and decided to write a number of books on said subject. The commonality you'll find within the Bennington Triangle is that there are a lot of missing people in this small general area. So since like the beginning of modern recorded history, there are between 30 and 40 people that have just disappeared in this tiny little, like it's within like a designated forest area. These people just seem to not exist anymore. A big number of those happened between not a big number, but 5 people went missing between 1945 and 1950, which I'll touch on a little bit further into the show. But where am I at here? Yeah. Kind of like with the Bridgewater Triangle, there are Native American legends that contribute to the Bennington Triangle's reputation. The Abenaki people who once inhabited the region believed that Glastonbury Mountain was cursed. It's home to a spirit known as the Stone Man or the Glastonbury Giant. This entity was said to bring misfortune to those who ventured into its domain. The Abenaki would only set foot on the mountain to bury their dead, as they believed that the area was a place where all the 4 winds met in an eternal struggle, which kind of holds some almost some like physical bearing there, because the weather on the mountain is said to be super erratic, and sometimes the plant and the trees grow in odd angles, kind of like where the winds like fighting each other.
That's weird.
So pretty interesting.
It is interesting, and that was going to be one of my first questions: is if it was more of like a superstition mountain type situation, where it's technically the mountain that has a lot of the shenanigans going on versus the actual area, which maybe there's bleed off in the area from the mountain, you know?
Yeah, most of
also, Also another worthwhile question, and that would be, has anybody found native bodies up there?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I would assume there's probably burial mounds on there, especially if like the lore carried over that like, hey, we buried our dead here.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there was any. I'll have to look, see if there's any actual like archaeological.
It kind of gives you a fucking uneasy feeling that people go missing in the area and they're like, hey, I know where we should take our dead.
Yeah.
It also makes you feel like I don't know why I feel this way, but it makes you feel like they're just feeding the mountain.
It's weird. It could be. And the fact like so many weird things like tie into one another, because this is essentially the person eating mountain that we talked about.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So
it's also weird how many mountain ranges and specific mountains are embedded in native lore.
Yeah,
because there's a lot.
Powerful beings.
Yeah, they talk about mountains a lot, and a lot of them have some woo-woo shit that goes on around them. Now, mind you, I realize that, I mean, I can only imagine, for no disrespect, a simpleton, because I would be considered a simpleton, and I've never seen some of these massive mountains in person. But when I have seen some of these in person, I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah, they're almost like their own entity when you see them.
Yeah, they're I don't know, it's just hard to even explain. They're just so fucking bizarre, especially for like I said, I've never even personally seen some of them in person. But when I went out to like Sedona and stuff like that, and you see those essentially structures for the first time, those formations, you are taken back. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is wild.
That's how I felt at Devil's Tower. Like almost like you're looking like it's like a natural landmark, but it's almost like you're looking at something you're not supposed to see.
Yeah, it's surreal.
Yeah.
It's absolutely surreal.
It's crazy. But keep in mind the Stone Man and the Glastonbury Giant once I get down to the man-eating rock at the lower end of the show here.
Cool.
We're going to talk about cryptids for a little bit. We got the Bennington Monster. So in the early 19th century, a stagecoach full of passengers was traveling by Glastonbury Mountain near Bennington, Vermont. The night was rainy, the horses were skittish, and perhaps more skittish than they normally would have been in bad weather. Eventually, the driver brought the carriage to a halt and dismounted because the road had been washed out. That's when he noticed several enormous footprints in the road where the mud had been. He couldn't tell if they were human or if they were animal. The other passengers left the coach to look at the prints because no one could ascertain what type of creature made those tracks. That's when something, whatever it was, unseen in the dark, actually attacked the stagecoach, pushing it over with several blows. The passengers saw a pair of red eyes staring at them from the dark, and they heard something roar and rush off into the darkness. This was one of the first encounters with the Bennington Monster. There were more sightings that had kind of been compiled throughout the years, but they were pretty much just like your normal one-off Bigfoot encounters. Then in 1976, we had the White Hall incident, which isn't, depending on, I guess, the geographical location you want to have of the Bennington Triangle. This falls a little bit outside, but still well within reach. So like you said, bleed off could easily be here. You had the White Hall incident. So the year was 1976, and the setting was quiet, a rural field in the outskirts of White Hall. Two teenage boys, Marty Paddock and Paul Gosselin, were driving home from a camping trip when they spotted something that would haunt their memories for years to come. There, in the middle of the field, stood a gigantic humanoid figure, its frame silhouetted against the moon from the evening sky. As the boys watched in a mixture of awe and horror, the creature began to move, its long, powerful strides carrying it across the field with an eerie, loping gait. Paddock and Gosselin, now, at this point, terrified, could only watch this thing run closer and closer to them. Its dark hair, it was shaggy, it was rippling in the breeze as it was running. Suddenly, a sound pierced the air, a strange, weird, unsettling cry that almost like seemed like a cross between a howl and a human. They said it was a sound unlike anything that they had ever heard before. He said it almost sounded like a woman's scream or a pig's squeal, but like more guttural. The noise just sent shivers down their spine, and they knew in that moment they were witnessing something like terrifying, just out of the ordinary. The White Hall incident, as it became known, quickly gained national attention, with news of the sighting spreading like wildfire throughout the media. 3 separate law enforcement agencies launched investigations into the matter, interviewing witnesses and scouring the area for any evidence of the creature's presence. Despite extensive efforts of the investigators, no concrete proof of the creature's existence was found. However, the impact of the White Hall incident on Vermont's Bigfoot legend has to be stated. The sighting, with its vivid detail and detailed accounts and the multiple involvements of credible witnesses and law enforcement, kind of brought Vermont's Bigfoot phenomenon to the forefront there for a while after 1976. The Bennington Monster has been seen in recent times. For example, September 2003, Ray, I'm going to not pronounce this right, Dufresne? Ray Dufresne.
Yep, that's it.
Of Winooski, Vermont, was driving by the mountain when he saw a large, quote, black thing in the road. It was well over 6 feet tall and was hairy from the top of its head to the bottom of its feet. On September 16th, the same year, a writer named Doug Dorst was driving near Bennington College When he saw something he first saw was a man in a snowsuit. As he got closer, he realized the enormous stocky creature wasn't quite human. There were also several other sightings of creatures crossing the road that occurred around the same time in 2003. So the Triangle definitely has its fair share of Bigfoot lore, which was low-key kind of lacking in the Bridgewater Triangle. We had cryptid sightings, but there wasn't a whole lot of like kind of focused in Bigfoot stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and before you even said Bigfoot, like that's instantly where my brain was going with that one. The overall description, I'm like, that's Bigfoot. That's 100% Bigfoot.
And a lot of people kind of lean toward the Bennington Monster as being responsible for some of the missing people, which you kind of hear that in the missing 411 lore. Like some people want to attribute Bigfoot to these people disappearing. So that is not to be overlooked in this case either. Because you have
I don't feel like that's a solid theory though, in most people's eyes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying not for us per se, but I feel like a lot of people try to dance around that one.
Yeah, people
that I don't know why they want to envision Bigfoot as a big, fluffy, gentle giant.
100%. That's what I was just gonna say. People don't want their Bigfoot to be like a vicious man-eating predator. You know, they just like it's America's cryptid. They just want it to be chill, and they want it to just like hang out in the forest and eat berries and move around a lot when people are trying to take pictures of it.
And the natural assumption, I mean, it's kind of a given for Bigfoot, is that's a primate, and we know primates will fuck you up.
Oh yeah,
if you cross them,
yeah,
they'll fuck you up bad. And being like some of them more what I would describe as like ancient stories, it to me it is kind of telling that like maybe Bigfoot wasn't exactly comfortable with our presence as we start to push further and further into these forested areas. And when it seen the cart for the first time, it was like, oh, fuck this. I don't know what this is, but it's in my territory. And now I'm going to go after it. I'm going to state my dominance and flex on them essentially.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could totally see that. Cause oh yeah. Once you get encroached on, that's how animals react.
It's no different than somebody coming in your home.
Yep. And if you really want to go kind of out on a limb here, maybe even not out on a limb, you have the Abenaki lore between the stone man and the giant, right? That could easily be attributed to a Bigfoot.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Even before you said that we know Bigfoot is also ingrained in a lot of native lore as well.
Yeah, especially it's referred to as a giant, which Bigfoot's constantly referred to as a giant. And even a stone man could easily be like, if you've seen pictures and videos of Bigfoots when they're hunkered down, they look like a chunk of granite sitting there until it stands up, or it looks like a bush or something. Until it stands up, you don't know that it has a human form, which easily could be attributed to that as well. And if these things, I'm going to tread around this respectfully, right? If these things are predators that do hunt humans, what if, say, the Native Americans that lived on the mountain realized this, and they would take their dead there to kind of satiate this clan of Bigfoot giants, whatever it is, that lived on the mountain, almost like an offering. Like, here, we'll pass these on to you, so you don't attack us.
Yeah,
and I mean that with the utmost respect as far as like the burial procedures and things go. But it's just a thought that kind of crossed my mind there. Also, from there, Bennington has its fair share of UFO sightings as well. You can go back through some of the old head lore of Bennington, like way back when all the communities were starting to get developed, and there was constant stories of weird lights in the woods, weird lights in the sky, phantom smells, all kinds of weird stuff. That, I mean, you could attribute some of it to like logging and mining communities up there, but like the weird lights in the sky and shit, that's hard to attribute for before there were airplanes and before there was electricity, right? So there were all kinds of UFO sightings between the 60s and the 90s. Reports describing glowing orbs, disc-shaped objects, triangular crafts moving through the sky, hovering above the treetops and just vanishing in air. I picked out one of the most probably well-known UFO encounters from the specific area to share with you. It's called the Bluff Ledge Abduction. On August 7th, 1968, just a couple years after the Betty and Barney Hill abduction, New England states would again host a alien abduction. Bluff Ledge Camp in Vermont would be the site of a visitation by 4 UFOs, which would appear, make revolutionary aerial maneuvers, and alter the lives of at least 2 young people. Bluff Ledge was a girls' camp located north of Burlington on Lake Champlain. During their tenure as a summer camp employees, Michael Lapp, 16-year-old maintenance man, and 19-year-old water ski instructor Janet Cornell were relaxing at a boat dock on a day off. On this particular August afternoon, the swim team had made a trip to Burlington to compete in a meet, and the camp was virtually deserted. Late in the afternoon, the 2 friends were enjoying the view of the sun setting over the lake when a bright light appeared in the darkening sky. At first, Michael thought they were being treated to a beautiful close-up view of planet Venus.
Dang.
Because that's what everybody thinks a UFO is. All of a sudden, the glowing lights began to move downward, closer toward Michael and Janet. The object at first, a round glowing orb, now began to flatten out as it was coming closer. Michael shouted, "Wow, Venus is falling." I mean, Mike, he's trying his best. As the 2 steadfastly watched the lights, 3 smaller lights began to drop from this larger disc-shaped object, which quickly began to move up and disappear from sight. The 3 smaller objects began to move and hover over the lake. They were obviously under some sort of intelligent control. The objects put on a show for Michael and Janet, doing all sorts of crazy maneuvers, loops and zigzags, and like almost floating down like falling leaves. The 3 objects moved closer to the 2 teenagers, forming a triangle. 2 of the objects pulled back. Michael would later recall a sound like 1,000 tuning forks when the 2 left the 3rd craft alone, which is bizarre because you don't hear a whole lot of sound remembrance in a lot of UFO cases. A lot of people remember him not having any kind of sound at all.
But you also hear these weird metallic noises in regards to like Bigfoot and Dogman.
Yeah. I can't imagine the sound of 1,000 tuning forks going off at the same time.
No, it'd probably be annoying as hell.
My head would explode.
Yeah. And real quick, I kind of brained out because my camera decided to take a dump. But backtrack to Bigfoot a little bit. You made the connection to the Stone Man and how these things look like stone piles sitting there at times. And the one thing we know about animals is that their coats change based on their environment. You know, there's that. And then there's the idea, the more woo-woo side, that they have the ability to essentially their hair follicles are like a transparent, and they almost have an ability, like that's where people attribute the cloaking technology.
Yeah. Like it's like a whole different kind of camouflage.
But what if it's not like invisibility like we think it is? What if it's more like an octopus? It's able to actively mimic its surroundings.
Like a chameleon.
That's
terrifying.
Yeah. But that does make sense when it comes to, because people think it has this cloaking ability to it.
Yeah.
And what if it's just it's like literally a master blender, so to speak?
Yeah, I guess I
And
never
that
really thought
doesn't
about that.
doesn't it doesn't attribute it to, because the one hole in that, I guess, would be your thermal imaging of supposed Bigfoots, because there are cases where people catch things like that on the thermal imagery and then it just disappears.
Yeah, but it does hold fast for the flip side of that thermal, where like you'll have the investigator hold up the thermal camera, and they will see
Oh yeah, good
a
point. Good
body,
call. Good call.
a body, and then they'll move it down, and there will be nothing there. Put
Yeah,
it back
good
up.
call.
So I never really thought about. I guess I never looked at the whole cloaking side from a like a biologically natural point of view, but it isn't like an out of pocket occurrence in the animal world. Like it
Yeah,
does
it's
happen
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
That that is interesting and creepy,
It is creepy.
and it kind of
Actually just kind of gives me goosebumps thinking about it. It's kind
yeah.
of
I would
gross.
rather have it demanifest than just blend into like
That's what I'm saying.
the side of my house here. Uh, but you have different color Bigfoots encountered here too. Like you had the
Yeah.
one that the guy thought was in a snowsuit, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you saying that, and I'm thinking, okay, so now are we talking the environment is more Yeti like, or what are we going? Where we're going with that?
Yeah, because I'm assuming it was a winter encounter,
Right.
but you wouldn't think that their coats would change with the seasons. You
You
know,
wouldn't
you
think,
wouldn't think.
because initially when you described that, I thought to myself, I meant to ask the question. Like I said, I kind of got sidetracked as a camera, but I meant to ask, and I know that would be more your thought than anything. Was this a Bigfoot encounter where it had snowfall on it, and so that's where they got the
Oh,
description
that
of
could
the
be it
white,
too.
or was it that their fur was legitimately white?
That's kind of what I thought, which kind of brought me to the theory that there are obviously more than one of these creatures, but maybe like different species of these creatures,
Yeah.
different genus of these creatures. Like you have the dark ones and you have the like snow covered ones. Maybe they migrate. Maybe they come out at different times. And
There's that, and then there's also, we know that most likely it's a language barrier. However, we would look back at the past from like the native tribes, how they at times described and spoke in riddles, but realistically, it's probably a language barrier between us and them, right? But it's interesting that earlier you pointed out this is an area where the four winds come together. Well, think about it in the context of Bigfoot. If there's more than one Bigfoot,
oh, maybe it's where they all kind of conglomerate at the same point.
maybe that had something, like maybe that bled into that as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would love to ever have the opportunity just to like go to these places.
Oh yeah.
Like if we ever get to do this full time, like just go out,
Oh, I'm down.
find a campsite in Bridgewater, spend a night there. Find a campsite in Bennington, spend the night there.
I'm down.
Let's see if there's any weird shit. But we're rolling back to the lake where Mike and Janet are just hanging out. Mike's watching Venus fall to the earth and probably just trying to impress Janet. He's probably like, hey, you see that over there? That's Venus. It's going to crash into the earth. Our last day here.
We are the male species is known for those sad attempts.
Yes. Anyway, so as they're watching, there's 3 crafts. 2 of them haul back, making this sound of 1,000 tuning forks, quote unquote. The one remaining UFO passed over Michael and Janet, then shot upward momentarily and disappeared. It soon reappeared, tilted to one side, and actually submerged itself into the lake. A couple minutes passed before the object would reemerge from the water and began gliding straight to them. I don't know if it's gliding on the top of the water or if it's just gliding in the air, which I don't know which would be better. It would be really weird if it was
Neither.
just skipping across the water.
The fact that it was in the air and then went underwater and then it came above and did whatever the fuck it is, whatever description of gliding, it's still extremely uncomfortable.
I would have been well out of there. I'd been like, sorry, Janet.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I'm done impressing you, woman.
Yes. I would have been, she would have turned around. I'd have been long gone. I ain't trying to fuck with no aliens today, Janet. The object was now so close that the couple could see, oh, they're not a couple, but the two teenagers could see a transparent dome on the top of the object. It was occupied by what they described as two childlike creatures. Michael said they had elongated necks, big heads, and no hair, which just describing that is terrifying, playing out in my brain. Their eyes were also exceptionally large and extended around the sides of their head. Michael began to sense a kind of mental communication with these two beings. Watching them intently, Michael slapped his knee, and to his surprise, one of the occupants mimicked his movement, kind of confirming that they were on the same brainwave here.
That is weird because it's like a legit mental connection.
Yeah, which sucks.
Yeah, that's really gross. And it's also a confusing description because when you hear that, like instantly you think gray, but gray are not typically thought of, or described with long necks.
No, which is gross.
And I also don't hear many gray encounters where the eyes actually wrap around the head.
Yep. Me either.
It almost makes you feel whether it could, I guess it could fall in as far as the species that I'm aware of, I feel like it could fall in the description of the tall grays, or more of the one-off encounters you hear of the insectoid.
That's exactly style. What I was gonna say. Exactly. I was thinking like a mantis kind of.
Yeah. And that makes sense because a lot of those drawings do kind of fit.
Yep.
The necks are kind of pronounced in some of them, like mantis style.
And their eyes do.
Yep, they do like a little bit of a wraparound. Yeah.
It's a little less almond and a little more like.
Yep. I fuck with that.
As soon as you started to say it, I'm like, it feels like mantis person. So as they're sitting there and this craft's moving toward them, they see these two occupants and they start mimicking Michael's movements. The craft moved directly overhead of the two teenagers. They shot a beam down at Michael and Janet. Grabbing Janet's shoulder, Michael pulled both of them on their backs onto the dock. He was trying to get them away. Suddenly, Michael was overcome with fear that they were being kidnapped. He remembers screaming, "We do not want to go." The light from the beam was so bright that Michael recalls being able to see the bones in his hand, like an X-ray had hit him. The two teenagers both later recalled that the beam had a strange liquid feeling to it and gave them the sense that they were free-floating through the air. Their next conscious thoughts would be that of staring at the object again from the dock, except now the sky is totally black, and Michael wondered how long that he had been in this one spot. Looking at Janet, he could see that she was in a trance-like state, drowsy and disoriented. At this point, they heard the welcoming sounds of their swim team returning home from their meet in Burlington. The UFO had now moved up into the blackened sky, flashed its light beam repeatedly, and then vanished from sight. Strangely, Michael and Janet did not discuss what had happened to them. Not now, and not for the next couple weeks, when the camp season ended. Maybe the strange things they'd seen over the lake was just an optical illusion. Maybe it wasn't. After their summer camp jobs were over, Michael and Janet went their separate ways. During the next 5 years, Michael rarely thought about that night. But in time, he began to have disturbing dreams. Dreams about being kidnapped, abducted against his will. The dreams would come like they did, and the dreams would vanish, also like they did. It would be 10 years after this harrowing event that Michael made a decision to contact the Center for UFO Studies and search for answers. Investigator Walter Webb was assigned to the case, and after hearing Michael's story, suggested that regressive hypnosis would be of use to help rid him of this emotional strife and frightening dreams. During Michael's hypnosis, he vividly recalls his experience that August night. He remembered how the beam of light lifted him into the craft's interior, how he entered a bigger craft, and how he saw Janet lying on the table being examined. These small beings shined a light into her eyes, scraped her skin, and took fluids from her body. Quote, "The aliens all looked alike," Michael recalled. They had those large eyes, a mouth without lips, no ears, and 2 small openings for a nose. Michael also described the beings as having 3 pointed web-like digits for fingers. Their bodies felt, quote, damp and clammy. The aliens related to Michael that their mission was to make life like ours other places. which kind of falls into your episode from last week.
It does.
Where these things are making a hodgepodge of life forms throughout everywhere. It also goes with the three weird three-handed or three-fingered hands that you hear so much. You even hear it in some one-off weird cryptid stories, that a lot of whatever these entities are just have three creepy digits on each hand.
Fucking nerds.
Yeah. After he went through his hypnosis, he reached out to Janet, who then decided that she was also going to undergo regression. Her descriptions only went on to verify Michael's. She recalled feeling cold on the examining table, with something pulling her hair and pinching her neck. The abduction of Michael Lapp and Janet Cornell certainly falls within the general pattern of abductions reported by many others. To confirm facts from their stories, Webb located several other members of the camp who had witnessed it. Wow, let me try that again. To confirm the facts of their story, Webb located several other members of the camp who had witnessed strange lights over Lake Champlain the very night of the abduction. 2 other employees reported a similar experience, which had occurred earlier the same summer, when they observed unidentified flying objects hovering over the lake for almost 20 minutes. Although Michael and Janet's experience had not been reported for 10 years, it's still one of the best well-documented cases of alien abduction. So that's gross.
It is gross. It also makes me wonder if, which obviously they didn't, but should the other people around the camp have gotten regressed as well?
Especially, I think especially the 2 that had the at least 20-minute experience.
Oh yeah, exactly. Motherfucker, very rare do you have accounts where people are able to stand there for 20 straight minutes and watch UFOs.
I'm curious as to how long the time had elapsed between how much missing time Janet and Michael had. I just found, I read that verbatim from one of the websites that I was looking into. I forget which one I grabbed. I don't know. I got it written down somewhere. But there are well more documented accounts of Michael and Janet's abduction. I might just do a whole episode on it, but I feel like I needed to add it. It's with the Bennington Triangle not having any actual lines, essentially. These things kind of bleed over as to how you want to do it, but it's close enough that I feel like it should have been added. And also, since there's been a plethora of other UFO sightings in the area, this one kind of held out here. So if you go looking for it, it's the Bluff Ledge. Yeah, the Bluff Ledge abduction. There are a lot of websites and stuff that cover it. From there, we're going to move into the disappearances. Like I said before, there were 30 to 40 disappearances since they started actually recording, I guess, disappearances of the modern times. But these specific ones right here were through a 5-year time period. And especially with such a small geographical location, something's definitely very sus. First, you have Mitty Rivers. The first disappearance occurred on November 12, 1945, when 74-year-old Mitty Rivers disappeared while out hunting in the vicinity of Long Trail Road and Vermont Route 9. Rivers was on a weekend hunting trip with 4 other hunters up in the mountain. The morning of November 12, 1945, Rivers and his son-in-law, Joe Lawson, were walking together before reaching a fork in the road. Rivers and Lawson would separate here, with Rivers telling Lawson that he was only going to go up a short distance before he would join them at camp for lunch. After 3 p.m., the rest of the hunting party would begin searching and trying to locate authorities. An extensive search was conducted, but the only evidence discovered was a single rifle cartridge that was found in a stream. The speculation was that Rivers had leaned over and the cartridge had dropped out of his pocket into the water. Rivers was an experienced outdoorman who was familiar with the local area. No other evidence or Rivers himself was ever seen again. Which is crazy to me. I say this every time we talk about missing people. The fact that a whole ass human can just disappear, especially in the vicinity of other people, you're hanging out with other people. They'd be like me and you going hiking through the woods, and I'm like, hey, Kyle, I'm going to step around this corner and take a piss. And then I just disappear.
That would fuck me up.
It would fuck me up because I would be disappeared.
Also true. I also find it bizarre in the case of this dude that goes missing. I feel like the assumption, because I focus on the rifle cartridge found in the stream. I find it to be a bizarre assumption that someone would carry rifle cartridges in their breast pocket. I just find that really strange that would be an assumption.
Yeah, unless...
Because I feel like everybody that wears breast pockets are relatively aware that things do fall out of breast pockets quite often, especially if you're bending over. So I don't feel like, for an experienced hunter, I don't feel like it would be a logical location to carry extra rifle rounds.
It almost feels like it was planted there.
Yeah, like, or the, because I don't know. I guess I just feel like I would want them in my pockets.
To where you weren't,
so
where you wouldn't lose them.
They don't go anywhere.
It almost,
so maybe I would rather the assumption be that he was digging around in his pocket and he pulled out, he lost a round, which could happen.
Or he just dropped it. Maybe he was fiddling around.
Or he just dropped it. Yeah.
But it almost feels like it wants to lead a narrative that he was close to this stream. Like maybe he fell in the stream and that's how he disappeared.
It is weird. It is definitely weird.
Yeah.
Which is even grosser to think that there would be a level of intelligence behind whatever's going on.
Sucks.
And that's not like the word in that case, the word intelligence is vastly underplayed.
Oh yeah,
because that is an extreme level of intelligence.
That's
a sinister level. Yeah, it's a 100%.
Yeah. Not long after this, Paula Welden, age 18, disappeared on December 1st, 1946. Welden, a sophomore at Bennington College, had set out for a hike on the long trail. Many saw her depart, including Ernest Whitman, a Bennington Banner employee who gave her directions. She was not wearing a jacket during her journey. It was 50 degrees outside, later dropping to 9 that evening. Welden was alleged to have been seen on a trail by an elderly couple who were about 100 yards behind her. According to them, she turned the corner of the trail, and when they reached the same corner that she was at, she had just completely vanished. So 100 yards, not going to take you that long to get there. Even just strolling on a trail. You say, what, a minute maybe? Like it's not
that bad.
Not that bad. Completely gone. An extensive search was conducted, including a posting of over $5,000 in rewards. The FBI was called out. Not a single piece of evidence was ever found. And neither was Paula Welden.
That's weird.
She was the inspiration for Shirley Jackson's novel, The Hangsman. There was also, after this happened, I read an article that there was a strange rumor that Paula had, quote, fell in love with something in the forest and just stayed out there for the rest of her days.
That gives me goosebumps.
That's fucked.
Yeah, like I'm still stuck on the rifle round in that first one, but in a way, the thought process connects the two because we talk about it being a sinister intelligence, but you really have to think about that because that means that this thing is experienced enough and has been around long enough to know how humans operate.
Manipulation.
And it knows that we're gonna form search patterns. It knows all of that. And so that is a level of intelligence that is absolutely fucking disgusting. And then you have this lady who gets manipulated into falling in love with something out into the fucking woods and so much so that she's like, I'm just going to spend the rest of my life out here.
And how does, like, I'm still just caught on how does a person disappear? Like if you're in the middle of the goddamn Himalayas, like, yeah, I can see a person going missing there.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
You're in Vermont. And I know there's forests in Vermont, and there people are going to jump in the comments and be like, "Oh, there's a wide swath of land." Blah blah blah. Like, I get it, but there was people within 100 yards of this woman when she went missing.
Didn't hear a sound.
Nothing.
Didn't see nothing.
No scream. No shout. No sound of falling. No nothing. The same with the first dude. In a hunting party with his family, rounds a corner, never seen again.
Gone.
Fucked.
That is insane.
Fucked. Next, we have James Tedford, 1949. James Tedford, a veteran, allegedly went missing on December 1st, 1949. When did... Oh, this is 3 years later. That's also weird that Paula went missing on December 1st and this guy went missing on December 1st.
That is weird.
Fucking strange.
Did he give a rough date for the first guy?
I think it was August.
August.
November 12th. So
that's still
pretty close.
Pretty
close. James Tedford, a veteran, allegedly went missing December 1st, 1949, 3 years to the day after Welden was last seen. Tedford, a resident of Bennington Soldiers Home, had been in St. Albans. Oh, this one is fucked up. In St. Albans, visiting relatives, and was accompanied to a local bus station, which was the last location that he was seen. According to witnesses, Tedford got on the bus and was still aboard at the last stop before arriving in Bennington. Somewhere between the last stop and Bennington, he completely vanished off the bus. His belongings were still in the luggage rack. An open bus timetable was on his vacant seat. Tony Jinks discusses the claim, saying that, quote, the popular conception is that he vanished into thin air while on the bus. But like many missing person stories, there's a gap between when he was last seen and when he was reported missing. Regarding Tedford's disappearance, there is enough evidence to suggest that he possibly did not dematerialize, even though no trace of him has ever been found outside of the bus. How the fuck
That's fucked up, dude.
do you get on a bus and disappear?
Outside of like alien abduction, I have no fucking clue.
There ain't nobody throwing me the fuck off a bus and have nobody notice.
Right.
I'm open challenge. Put me on a bus full of people. Get me out of there any way you can without them seeing.
That's fucked up.
That sucks. Like, cause like this essentially means whatever the phenomena isn't just tied to the mountain. It isn't just tied to the forest. Like, it can get you on your regular normal ventures, going about your day, doing what you're doing.
Dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like you said, it even stays away from your daily stuff. Like, it doesn't even care.
Bro was just out having a good day, visiting some families, hanging out with the cousins, going to a barbecue, driving home, disappeared. They didn't even let him take his luggage. Aliens are like, no, we're good now.
We got you.
Sucks. That absolutely sucks. We got two more here. 1950, Paul Jepson on October 12th, 1950, which again is another fall date. Just like it's weird. Paul Buddy Jepson, a child aged 8, had accompanied his mother on an errand. She left her son unattended in the cab of their truck for about an hour while she had fed some pigs. When she returned, her son was nowhere in sight. A bloodhound tracked the boy along a logging road to an intersection of back roads near a stream, or according to local legend, where Welden had disappeared 4 years earlier. Search parties with high-powered flashlights looked for Paul, but nothing was ever found. His father'd share with press how easily it would be to overlook him because his brown and tan clothing would be easy to blend in with the fall leaves. So that one's kind of sad since it was a little boy. I mean, they're all sad because people went missing, but it's different when it's a child. And the fact that it's almost the exact same spot where Paula Welden was last seen is also super fucked.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
No, not at all. It almost shows a clear pattern to some of it.
Yes. Next, we have October 28th, the same year, 16 days after Jepson had disappeared. Frida Langer, age 53, and her cousin Herbert Elsner left their family campsite near Somerset Reservoir to go on a hike. During the journey, Langler slipped and fell into a stream. She told Elsner if he would wait, she would go back to the campsite and change her clothes and catch back up to him. When she did not return, Elsner made his way back to the campsite and discovered that Frida had never made it there. Nobody had seen her since the day they had left. Over the next 2 weeks, 5 searches were conducted involving aircraft, helicopters, over 300 searchers, and no trace of Langer was ever found on that search. On May 12th of the next year, Langer's body was found 3.5 miles from the campsite in the eastern branch of the Deerfield River, an area that had been lightly searched 7 months earlier. She was out in the open. No cause of death could be determined because of the condition of her remains. So again, almost this one was within a 2-week time period almost of the last abduction. Which when this happened, people at first were like, maybe there's a serial killer operating in this area, preying on these parks and stuff, but that still wouldn't explain the bus.
No.
And while it's not out of the realm of serial killers, the MO would be so out of left field because everybody's so different. You have teenagers, you have children, you have elderly, you have, all sorts of different people. Usually a serial killer likes kind of lock in on what they like,
right?
Kind of stay within that criteria. But just the fact that so many of these people like went missing within that would be like 5 people going missing here within 5 years.
Yeah, and that's bizarre.
It would be crazy.
And then not to mention that it's relatively same area, time frame, time of year.
Some of them on the same day.
It's
fucked up.
I don't know. It is fucked up.
Fucked up. This leads us to, so again, I said that like some people wonder if whatever this Bennington Monster is, or this whole what's the word? Population of Bennington monsters could be responsible for some of these missing people. This leads us to the man-eating rock. I could not find a whole lot of information on the man-eating rock. Outside of that, it was attributed to native folklore in the area. And the best description I could find of it kind of went one of 2 ways. First, you have some sort of like weird cryptid kind of stone man type of thing, almost like it's a creature that would kind of lie in wait for people that didn't know their way around, or people that kind of venture to it, where this thing would essentially devour them. On the other hand, you have just specifically a rock. It has to be big enough for people to be able to like stand on it and stuff, but it's just unassuming. Say a huge granite boulder out somewhere along a trail. People see it and it kind of draws their attention. Maybe it looks easy to climb. Maybe there's a good place to take a picture. But whenever people stand on top of this rock, it almost turns into like a liquid form and just absorbs the people into it. So you have that. That's kind of the lore behind this man-eating rock, which kind of takes me in a direction of, what if there is like a series of portals on this mountain, right? You have so many missing people. You have the native lore about kind of the whole aura behind this mountain. What if this quote unquote man-eating rock is the opening to a portal, right? That would attribute a lot of the missing people. It would also fall into the folklore of the rocks devouring people. And you hear that like the portal legends kind of coincide with a lot of these paranormal triangles, the Bridgewater and Bermuda. So it's not that far-fetched to think that maybe whatever this man-eating rock is could just be an opening of a portal in the side of Glastonbury Mountain. What else do I got here? From the giant man-eating rock, we also have some current weirdness that I found on a website of some people that went out sort of exploring and had some weirdness kind of go awry for him. And I just put this at the end here to kind of share with you guys. Some adventurous souls who have heard the rumors set out to explore the trails of the infamous 5-year period disappearances. One such adventurer is Chad Abramovich of the website Obscure Vermont. He reported on a trip taken in the mountains, saying, "Myself and a few friends departed in his pickup truck and drove the bumpy forest road into a strange clearing in the middle of the hills. Here, underneath the summer humidity, we found old cellar holes almost entirely hidden by tall grasses, beneath the shade of gnarled apple trees. Shortly after this, Abramovich and his group experienced a sudden, drastic change in the weather. It was a sunny July afternoon when they started, but a torrential thunderstorm quickly appeared. The group was stranded for some time, but finally managed to make it back to the flats. When they escaped the downpour, they found that the surrounding area was bone dry. Locals later confirmed that no thunderstorms had passed in the area." So that kind of leads credence in a current incursion that kind of confirmed the native lore. The meeting of the four winds, the crazy ass weather was pretty much spot on.
Yeah.
Another man, Robert Singley, a music composition teacher in Bennington College and an experienced hiker, became lost on the mountain in 2008. He took a trail known well to nearby Bald Mountain and then used the same trail to go directly back. However, the well-known trail didn't lead where it was supposed to have. According to Singley, he walked 5 miles before realizing that he should have reached his car already. Just as he became concerned, a heavy fog rolled in. The whole trail became hopelessly dark. He went to a maple tree that had Try this again. He went to a maple tree that he felt called to him from the fog, and he tried to start a fire. Every stick he reached for turned out to be an animal bone. This would have distressed most people, but Singley was only upset about his fiancée. He imagined that she was worried sick. He finally managed to light a fire and huddled by it through the night. In the morning, he found that he had somehow ended up on the opposite side of the ridge from his car. Luckily, he had made it home to tell the tale. So,
because that's not weird.
Now you can find actual news articles on Robert Singley's since it was within the last 15 years. You can read up because I don't know if they had people out looking for him, but since he was gone overnight, there are reports filed and stuff. It's weird that he could only find animal bones.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He had to find a stick at some point because how the hell did he start a fire?
I don't know. It could lead to so much stuff. Because, I mean, if you want to attribute shit to Bigfoot, what if, I don't know how it would have happened. Him being snatched by a Bigfoot or stumbled into a Bigfoot area,
especially
where there's a bunch of animal bones.
If they're the number one apex predator out there.
Yeah. I don't know. That's the animal bones is what got me. I'm like, how do you not find this fucking weird? But you're just going to start a fire and hang out? Like, What do we do? Like, what are we doing here?
I wish I might go back and look more into whatever the tree calling out to him. Like, that's bizarre as fuck too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
But I don't know. That's kind of the crux of the Bennington Triangle there. This one almost feels more sinister than Bridgewater because you legitimately have people going missing there. Like, if you want to look into it, there's other tales of just downright like murder and mayhem that's kind of attributed to it too. In these little unincorporated towns around, like the whole area is kind of fucked. But I think there may be something to the portals with the missing people.
Yeah.
The man-eating rock just feels like, to me, it feels like a native explanation of seeing a portal. A man-eating rock is what it boils down to.
I absolutely agree.
And also I'm curious because you have 2 of the missing people that disappeared from essentially the exact same spot. I would be curious to know if somebody made it out there to that crossroads, took some sort of I don't know, Geiger counter, EMF, something out there to see if there's something that's off, something that's off kilter out there, because
because I mean it would lean to a theory of a portal being there.
Yep.
Same spot.
Yep. And I mean, portal shit is a lot of times attributed to Bigfoot stuff too.
And then you take into account the time of year, the fact that it's the same time of year. We know that um, fucking astronomy wise, season wise, like everything in lores across the world, they all have their own powers, so to speak. Or what if at a certain time of year things align somehow, some way, and it activates a portal?
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think about that. It's also like, I don't know. It's got a lot of missing 411 connotations behind it.
Yeah.
With the weird weather and how
The girl being, ending up where they've already searched.
Yep.
And
Robert Singley essentially like on a trail, took the trail out the 5 miles, took the trail back, but the trail didn't end up where he essentially walked directly past his car. How the fuck?
I don't know, man. Aside from it being ridiculously dark and somehow he just walked past it, I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it.
Because I mean, you'd have to assume he was either in a parking area or parked along a road.
Yeah.
You have to be like, that's hard to miss.
I absolutely agree. Like, it makes you feel like he was abducted and dropped off on the other side of the mountain into a Bigfoot pit.
Yeah, or just completely like walked into an alternate dimension. Like stepped into the fog and everything changed, which lines up with the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
True.
But yeah, that's kind of some of the research I did on Bennington. If anybody lives in that area, feel free to reach out to us. Tell us if you got any tales of the weird. If you've been out there, if you've been out there and there's not shit, tell us that. If you've been out there and it's weird, tell us that. Tell me how terribly I pronounced all the names of the area, because that's a commonality. I do not read very well. But we appreciate you all hanging out with us, just chilling, making us part of your Monday ritual. Kickstart the work week off right. We appreciate you all. That being said, check us out at all social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Reddit. Search us up, join the cult. Until we meet again, stay safe, stay weird, and avoid any man-eating rocks at all costs. We don't know where they go, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to be on the opposite end of that.